Hey, welcome back. In this lesson, it's going to be a quick one on the various line styles. So there are some options for the line styles and how you can update the various line styles. So let's create a brand new JS file and we'll save this as, and we'll call this one lines.js, and then go back to index and link to the new file that we're working on in this lesson, which is lines.js. Refresh your page just to make sure that everything is hooked up properly. So once again, let's start from the beginning. And I know that we've done this and we can probably copy and paste to save a little bit of time, but it is important to be able to understand that this is always the first step, and that's why we're doing it so many times, so that we're very familiar with what the first step is to start drawing. And the next, using the canvas object, we can get the context and set the context to 2D, and we're ready to start drawing. So with the lines, there were a number of options with lines. So let's use JavaScript and we'll create some lines. And we're going to do a for loop. So let x, and how many lines we want to create. So loop while x is less than 10. We're going to be creating 10 lines. Increment x so that we have a way out of our loop. And let's set the CTX line width. And it's expecting a numeric value. And we can use the value from x. So if we increment the line width this way, we're going to have constantly incrementing line widths. We're going to use the begin path so that we always have a new path for each line that we're drawing. Let's do the CTX, and we're going to move it to our starting location. So using the value of x, we want to move it over from top to bottom. So we're always going to be starting in the same position. So start at 100 from the left, and then off the top, we're going to start at 50, and then add to it x times 50. So whatever the value of x is, it's going to increment every time we loop through, every time we update x. Also, let's do a line too. So the line will be moving all the way to 500, and we're going to keep it at the same top position. So it'll be multiplying the y coordinates by that. And this actually should be line to, not move to. So that's actually just drawing the line. So we're moving and then we're drawing the line so that we have a nice straight line. And CTX stroke will do the actual drawing. So that gives us the lines that are constantly getting thicker. You can also play around with this and just do a few different things if you want. So that gives us the basics of how we can draw some lines. We can also increment it by less as well, and maybe multiply it by 20. And also increase this by 20. So eventually we're doing a full width that's available for the line. So it's a nice interesting pattern that you can create with the lines. There's also what we can do with the lines. We can have different caps at the end of the lines. So let's clear, so CTX, clear rectangle. And we're going to take the rectangle from 0, 0. And we're going to clear it all the way to the end of the canvas. And we know that number to be 600 by 600, 640 by 640. So that's going to automatically clear the entire canvas width. So clearing out what we just did in this part. And so that gives us a blank canvas that we can continue to work with. So I'll move that up. So this time what we want to do is we want to illustrate the differences for the line end caps. So you can do different line caps. And the line end caps have butt, round, and square. So we'll try all three of these. So again, CTX begin path in order to start a new path. CTX, and this time we'll do the lines vertically. So we'll do a move 2, starting at 110 for the y coordinates. And then CTX line 2, and we're going to move it all the way. So we're going to keep the x position the same. which is 100. And we'll do the Y position to 500. And then lastly, we need to do the CTX stroke to draw the line. So that gives us a line. Let's update the line cap as well as we can update the line width. So notice as well that we're keeping the line width from above. So if we want to update the line width, let's update line width. And we'll set line width to the default, which is 1 pic. And maybe that's a little bit too thin, so let's do 10. Do a refresh so that we can see the ends, because we're going to be really looking at the ends, the line caps. So CTX, and let's update the line cap. And it's expecting a string value. So there's but, which is the squared off endpoints. And that's the default, that's the one that we've been working with. There's also a round. So see now we've got a rounded endpoint. And there's also a square endpoint. And there is a difference between but and square, as square is similar to the round where it adds a little bit extra to that line. So I'm just going to do a duplicate of this. And we'll illustrate all three different ones. So but, and then let's do the last one where we're going to do the square ending. And then I'll add to these by 200 or by 100. So that gives us an illustration of all three lines. And notice that but and square, that they're ending differently. So they look the same, but the position is because a square is adding an additional line of thickness to the end. And let's try one more. So there are the possibilities for the line joining. So there's three options for the line joints as well. So in this case, we need to clear the canvas. So just do another clear and get rid of that existing content. And we're going to start again where we're going to set and we're going to create a loop as we're going to join the lines together, and we're going to do different types of line joins. So let x equals 0, and we'll loop through while x is less than. So let's do a quick copy and paste. We can keep the line width at 10 so we don't have to reset it. Let's do a first move to. So that gives us our initial line. I'll update this to move it back down to the starting position. Then we're going to do some line twos. So we'll do a line to 200 and 110. And then we'll do a line back down to 100, and it'll be 220. And then back to the line. So we'll move this one back out, and this could be 320. And moving it back in, and we'll start it, I'll set this one to 420. And let's do one more line at 200 and then to 520. So this gives us this jaggedy type output of the lines. So let's update the line join. And it's expecting a string value. So string value options. What round does is it rounds the corners slightly. And I'm going to actually change the line width so that it's quite a bit thicker so we can actually see the difference. And I'll also get rid of the line cap. And I'll comment out the line joint for now. So you can see that by default it's a very rough edge there. So you have an option to round it, which makes it slightly more round around the corners. You can also do a bevel corner. So that's kind of like a cutoff there of the corner. And there's also the miter option. And that's the one that's the default there. So you can try the various different ends there, the line joints, depending on which one you prefer, which one you need to use. You can update the line
joints accordingly. So go ahead and try this out, and in the next lesson we're going to continue to demonstrate some of the really neat things that you can do with Canvas. And that's going to be working with images, so we can bring these patterns and images into our projects really easily. So that's coming up next. That's going to be a lot of fun.